The darkness of space enveloped the small fleet of ships like a shroud, the only sound the soft hum of engines and the gentle hiss of life support systems. The stars twinkled like diamonds against the Inkai blackness, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the tiny, fragile presence of humanity within it. Captain Lewis stood on the bridge of the lead ship, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. The diversionary attack had been unexpected, a sudden and brutal strike that had caught the team off guard, but they had rallied, fighting back with all their might and managing to drive the enemy off. It was only later, when the dust had settled and the team had begun to analyze the attack, that they realized it had been more than just a simple strike. The enemy had been trying to distract them, to draw their attention away from the real target. Rostova, the team's chief analyst, stood beside Captain Lewis, her brow furrowed in concentration. She was a brilliant mind with a talent for seeing patterns and connections that others missed, and she had been working tirelessly to uncover the truth behind the attack. "I think we are dealing with something much bigger than we initially thought," she said to Captain Lewis. "The enemy's plan is more complex than we gave them credit for." Captain Lewis's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean that the attack was just a diversion," Rostova replied. "The real target is still out there, and we need to find it before it is too late." Ben, the team's second in command, stood on the other side of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the data streaming across his console. He was a skilled fighter with a talent for tactics and strategy, and he had been working closely with Rostova to uncover the enemy's true intentions. "I think I have found something," he said, his voice low and urgent. "There is a possible connection to a rogue operative, someone with a personal vendetta against us." Captain Lewis's eyes snapped to Ben's face. "Tell me more," she said. "The operative's name is Victor," Ben replied. "He was once a member of our team, but he turned against us. He has been working in the shadows, gathering resources and waiting for the perfect moment to strike." Rostova's eyes widened. "This changes everything," she said. "We are no longer just dealing with a random attack. We are dealing with a calculated and deliberate threat." The team's skills were put to the test as they prepared to face this new threat. They conducted a thorough risk assessment, identifying potential vulnerabilities and developing a contingency plan. The extraction team was placed on high alert, ready to respond at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, the witness was secured in a safe location, protected from the enemy's reach. The team awaited further instructions, ready to respond to the emerging threat at a moment's notice. They were always fully prepared, their training and experience honed to a fine edge. As they waited, the darkness of space seemed to press in around them, a reminder of the vast and mysterious universe that lay beyond their small fleet of ships. But the team was undaunted, their determination and courage burning bright in the face of danger. They were ready for whatever lay ahead, their skills and training at the ready. The hours ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity as the team waited for their next move. Captain Lewis stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. Rostova and Ben worked tirelessly, analyzing data and trying to stay one step ahead of the enemy. "We need to find out what Victor's plan is," Rostova said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "He has a personal vendetta against us, and that makes him unpredictable." "I agree," Ben said, his eyes fixed on the data streaming across his console. "But we also need to consider the possibility that he is working with someone else. A rogue operative like Victor would not be able to pull off an attack like this on his own." Captain Lewis nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "We will need to be careful," she said. "Victor knows our protocols and procedures, and he will use that to his advantage." The team continued to work, their focus solely on the task at hand. They knew that they were in for a tough fight, but they were ready. They had been trained for this, and they had the skills and experience to take on whatever lay ahead. As the hours turned into days, the team remained on high alert, waiting for their next move. They knew that Victor could strike at any moment, and they needed to be ready. The tension was palpable, but the team remained focused, their determination and courage burning bright in the face of danger. One of the team members, a young woman named Sarah, stood on the edge of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the stars streaming by outside the ship. She was new to the team, but she had already proven herself to be a valuable asset. She was brave and resourceful, and she had a talent for thinking on her feet. Captain Lewis noticed Sarah standing there, and she walked over to her. "You okay, Sarah?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," Sarah replied, her eyes still fixed on the stars. "I was just thinking about how small we are in the grand scheme of things." Captain Lewis smiled, her eyes following Sarah's gaze. "We may be small," she said, "but we are not insignificant. We have a crucial role to play in the universe, and we will do whatever it takes to fulfill that role. Sarah nodded, her eyes returning to Captain Lewis's face. I know, ma'am, she said. I am just a little nervous, that's all. Captain Lewis placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. We are all nervous, she said. But we are a team, and we will face whatever comes our way together. The two women stood there for a moment, looking out at the stars. Then Captain Lewis turned and walked back to the center of the bridge, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. The team remained on high alert, waiting for their next move, ready to respond to the emerging threat at a moment's notice. The silence on the bridge was oppressive, the only sound the quiet hum of the ship systems. Captain Lewis's eyes were fixed on the main view screen, her mind racing with the implications of the rogue operative's involvement. We need to know more about Victor's plans, she said, turning to Rostova. Can you dig up anything on his past operations, see if there's a pattern to his attacks? Rostova nodded, her fingers flying across her console. I'm on it, Captain, but I have to warn you, Victor was a highly skilled operative. If he's gone rogue, he'll be difficult to track. Ben leaned forward, his eyes locked on the data streaming across his console. I've got something, he said, his voice low and urgent. It looks like Victor has been in contact with a number of shady characters, people who specialize in high-stakes sabotage. Captain Lewis's eyes narrowed. What kind of sabotage? She asked. It looks like they're planning to hit one of our key supply depots, Ben replied. If they succeed, it could cripple our operations for months. Rostova's eyes widened. That would give them the perfect opportunity to launch a full-scale attack, she said. We can't let that happen. Captain Lewis's face set in a determined expression. We'll do everything in our power to stop them, she said. Prepare the team for battle. We'll be going in hot. The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as the team sprang into action. Orders were barked out, consoles beeped, and the ship systems hummed with increased power. Meanwhile, deep in the heart of the ship, the witness sat in a secure room surrounded by heavily armed guards. The witness was a key player in the unfolding drama, and the team would stop at nothing to keep them safe. As the tension built, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Captain Lewis's voice rang out, clear and strong. All hands, this is the captain. We have a situation developing. Be prepared for battle. We'll be going in hot. The team responded with a chorus of affirmatives, their voices firm and resolute. They were ready for whatever lay ahead, their training and experience honed to a fine edge. The darkness of space seemed to press in around them, a reminder of the vast and mysterious universe that lay beyond their small fleet of ships. But the team was undaunted, their determination and courage burning bright in the face of danger. As they waited for the battle to begin, the silence on the bridge was oppressive, the only sound the quiet hum of the ship systems. The team was poised on the brink of action, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The wait was almost over. The enemy was closing in, their ships appearing on the horizon like ghosts. The team steeled themselves for battle, their hearts pounding with anticipation. It was time to face the enemy. It was time to fight. The hours ticked by, each one stretching out like an eternity as the team waited for their next move. Captain Lewis stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen as the stars streamed by like diamonds on velvet. The silence was oppressive, punctuated only by the soft beeps and chirps of the ship systems. Rostova stood beside her, her eyes fixed on the data streaming across her console. She was searching for any sign of Victor, any hint of his whereabouts or his plans, but so far she had found nothing. Ben walked onto the bridge, a cup of coffee in his hand. He took a sip, his eyes scanning the room as he searched for any sign of activity. The crew was on high alert, ready to respond to any threat at a moment's notice. Anything new, he asked, his voice low and even. Rostova shook her head. Nothing yet, she replied, but I am still searching. Captain Lewis nodded. Keep looking, she said. We need to find Victor before he can strike again. Ben nodded, taking another sip of his coffee. He walked over to the view screen, his eyes fixed on the stars streaming by. The universe was a vast and mysterious place, full of hidden dangers and unseen threats. But the team was ready, their skills and training honed to a fine edge. As they waited, the tension built, a palpable force that hung in the air like a challenge. The team was ready, their nerves stretched taut as they waited for their next move. And then, without warning, the ship systems beeped, a shrill alarm that cut through the silence like a knife. What is it? Captain Lewis asked, her voice sharp and urgent. Rostova's eyes snapped to her console, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she searched for answers. It is a transmission, she replied. From an unknown source. Ben's eyes narrowed. Put it through, he said. The view screen flickered, a face appearing on the screen. It was a woman, her eyes cold and hard. She was dressed in a black jumpsuit, a symbol on her chest that none of the team recognized. "You are the ones who have been chasing Victor," she said. Her voice was low and even without emotion. Captain Lewis's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" she asked. The woman smiled, a cold and calculating smile. "My name is not important," she said. "What is important is that I have information about Victor. Information that I am willing to share." Ben's eyes snapped to the woman's face. "What do you want in return?" he asked. The woman's smile grew wider. "I want your help," she said. "I want you to help me take down Victor. Together we can stop him before he can do any more damage." The team exchanged a look, unsure of what to make of the woman's offer. But one thing was certain: they had to make a decision, and fast. The fate of the universe depended on it. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the team waited for further instructions. Captain Lewis stood tall, her eyes fixed on the main view screen as it displayed a star chart of their current location. Rostova and Ben were huddled over a console, poring over lines of code and data, searching for any clue that might lead them to Victor. "We need to find out what Victor's plan is," Captain Lewis said, her voice firm and commanding. "We can't just sit here and wait for him to make his next move." "I agree," Rostova said, looking up from the console, "but we need to be careful. Victor is a skilled operative, and he won't hesitate to use any means necessary to achieve his goals." Ben nodded in agreement. "We need to get inside his head, figure out what makes him tick. What is his motivation for targeting us, and what is he hoping to achieve?" Captain Lewis turned to her comm officer. "Raise Commander Sarah," she said. "I want her to start digging into Victor's past, see if she can find any connections or patterns that might help us understand his plan." The comm officer nodded, quickly working the console to establish a connection with Commander Sarah. After a few moments, Commander Sarah's voice came over the comm system. "Captain, I'm here. What do you need me to do?" "I need you to start digging into Victor's past," Captain Lewis said. "Find out everything you can about him, his motivations, his connections. We need to understand what makes him tick if we're going to stop him." Commander Sarah's voice was professional and calm. "Yes, Captain. I'm on it." As the team continued to wait for further instructions, the silence on the bridge was broken only by the soft hum of the ship's engines and the gentle hiss of the life support systems. The stars twinkled like diamonds against the inky blackness of space, a reminder of the vast and mysterious universe that lay beyond their small fleet of ships. But despite the peacefulness of the scene, the team was on high alert, their senses tuned to the slightest hint of danger. They knew that Victor was out there, waiting for his moment to strike, and they were ready to respond at a moment's notice. The wait was agonizing, but the team was trained to be patient. They knew that in the world of espionage and counterterrorism, waiting was often the hardest part of the job. But they also knew that when the time came to act, they would be ready, their skills and training honed to a fine edge. As the hours ticked by, the team remained vigilant, their eyes fixed on the main view screen as it displayed a constant stream of data and images. They were waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Victor to make his next move. And when he did, they would be ready, their response swift and decisive. The darkness of space seemed to press in around them, a reminder of the vast and mysterious universe that lay beyond their small fleet of ships. But the team was undaunted, their determination and courage burning bright in the face of danger. They were ready for whatever lay ahead, their skills and training at the ready. And then, without warning, the comm system beeped, signaling an incoming message. The team's heads snapped towards the console, their hearts racing with anticipation. "Captain, we're receiving a message from an unknown sender," the comm officer said, her voice barely above a whisper. Captain Lewis's eyes narrowed. "Put it through," she said, her voice firm and commanding. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a grainy image of a figure in a black hoodie. The figure's face was obscured by shadows, making it impossible to identify. "You're looking for me," the figure said, its voice distorted and menacing. "I'm Victor, and I've been waiting for you." The hours ticked by, the silence broken only by the occasional beep of a console or the soft murmur of a team member. Captain Lewis stood tall, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. Rostova and Ben worked tirelessly, poring over data and analyzing intelligence reports. "We need to be careful," Rostova said, her voice low and urgent. "Victor is a cunning opponent, and he will stop at nothing to achieve his goals." "I agree," Ben replied. "We need to be prepared for anything. He could have set up traps or laid out a decoy to throw us off his trail." Captain Lewis nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "We will proceed with caution," she said. "We will not underestimate Victor or his abilities." As they spoke, the ship's sensors began to pick up a strange signal. It was faint, but it was definitely there, a low-frequency hum that seemed to be coming from a nearby planet. "What is that?" Captain Lewis asked, her eyes narrowing. "It looks like a distress signal," Ben replied, his fingers flying across his console. "But it's not quite right. It's almost as if someone is trying to send us a message, but they don't want to be too obvious." Rostova's eyes widened. "I think I know what this might be," she said. "Victor could be trying to lure us into a trap." Captain Lewis's face set in a determined expression. "We will not fall for it," she said. "We will proceed with caution, and we will be prepared for anything." The team sprang into action, mobilizing their defenses and preparing for battle. As they approached the planet, the signal grew stronger and they could feel the tension building. "This is it," Captain Lewis said, her voice calm and steady. "We are going in." The ships descended into the planet's atmosphere, their engines roaring as they battled against the thick air. The team held their breath, their hearts pounding in their chests. And then, suddenly, they were through. They found themselves in a barren, rocky landscape, the only feature a strange, metallic structure in the distance. "What is that?" Rostova asked, her voice full of wonder. "It looks like some kind of facility," Ben replied, his eyes scanning the horizon. "But it's not quite right. It's almost as if it's been abandoned." Captain Lewis's eyes narrowed. "We will proceed with caution," she said. "We do not know what we are up against." The team moved forward, their guns at the ready. As they approached the facility, they could feel the air growing thick with tension. And then, suddenly, they were face to face with Victor. He was a tall, imposing figure, his eyes blazing with anger and hatred. "You fools," he spat. "You think you can stop me, but you are too late. My plan is already in motion." Captain Lewis stood tall, her eyes locked on Victor's. "We will not let you succeed," she said. "We will stop you, no matter what it takes." Victor sneered, his face twisting with contempt. "You are no match for me," he said. "I have the upper hand," but Captain Lewis just smiled. "We will see about that," she said. And with that, the battle began. The team fought valiantly, their guns blazing as they clashed with Victor's forces. But despite their bravery, they were outnumbered and they began to fall back. Just when it seemed like all was lost, Rostova came up with a plan. She used her knowledge of the facility systems to outmaneuver Victor's forces, disabling their guns and leaving them vulnerable. The team took advantage of the opening, launching a fierce counterattack that sent Victor's forces reeling. And in the end, it was Captain Lewis who faced Victor alone, her gun trained on his chest. "It's over," she said, her voice firm. "You have lost." Victor's face twisted with rage, but he knew he was beaten. He glared at Captain Lewis, his eyes blazing with hatred. "This is not the end," he spat. "I will escape and I will come back." Captain Lewis just smiled. "I'm counting on it," she said. And with that, the battle was won. The team had saved the day, and they had proved themselves to be a formidable force. As they stood victorious, they knew that they would always stand together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The darkness of space enveloped them once again, but this time it seemed less intimidating. The team had faced their fears, and they had emerged victorious. And as they flew off into the unknown, they knew that they would always be ready for whatever came next. The stars twinkled like diamonds against the blackness, a reminder of the vast and mysterious universe that lay before them. And the team smiled, their hearts full of hope and anticipation. For they knew that they would always stand together, a shining beacon of courage and determination in the face of danger. The ship's engines hummed softly, a gentle reminder of the journey that lay ahead. The team settled in, their eyes fixed on the horizon, ready to face whatever challenges came their way. And as they flew off into the unknown, they knew that they would always be prepared, their skills and training at the ready. The universe was full of mysteries, but the team was ready to face them head-on. They were a team, a family, and they would always stand together, no matter what dangers lay ahead. And as they disappeared into the distance, the stars shone bright, a reminder of the infinite possibilities that lay before them. But as they flew off into the unknown, a small, unnoticed ship watched them from the shadows. Its occupant, a mysterious figure with a hidden agenda, smiled to themselves. The battle may be won, but the war is far from over. And as the ship disappeared into the darkness, the figure's smile grew wider. For they knew that the real challenge was only just beginning.